Yo, what's going on? All right, no cars, cool. Hey, it's been one heck of an off season so far. I just wanted to talk about today, since I got 4 hours and 45 minutes of riding to do. I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on with my training, because there's been a lot going on. There's been a lot of gains, there's been a lot of volume, there's been a lot of stretching, off the bike work, breathing, eating, tons of sleeping. So come with me today and let's chat about it. So off season's been a lot of zone 2 work, more than I've ever. And I think that has really changed the game for me. I mean, if we're honest, I'll just give you some stats. When I started the off season, 20-minute power after 2 weeks off, 330. After a month of just zone 2, we were at like 350. Yesterday, we did a test. We were at like 360. Again, we're just doing zone 2. We are just knocking out volume. And I mean, we're doing like progressive zone 2. So today is one of my favorite rides. But today I'll do 210 watts, 2 hours. Then I'll do 225 watts for an hour 45. And then the last 40 minutes of the ride, I'll do 245 watts. But that's the kind of building we've been doing. And all of that is within my zone 2. Along with power increasing with just doing zone 2 stuff, my weight has also decreased. Now, this isn't something where we really tried to lose weight at all. We kind of, when I say we, mean me and my coach, was like, dude, let's just get a good energy balance and it'll come off naturally. So we started off season 153. Today, I'm 147. Just naturally melted off in 2 months. So one thing with all of this zone 2 work though, is like, okay, sure, we saw a 30 watt increase on my 20-minute power. Like, that's cool, I love that. In 2 months, that's a lot. But the other thing that we've seen is my endurance has gone through the roof. My efficiency on the bike is going through the roof. My fatigue resistance, meaning I'm doing 4-hour rides, and we're just now starting tempo finally, but we did a 4-hour ride and then threw down a 30-minute tempo session at the very end of that to make it 4.5, and felt extremely comfortable. I mean, doing 4 to 5 hour rides now is like a cakewalk. The other thing that has been insane to see while doing all of this is I spend more time in my zone 2 heart rate zone now than I did before. Before I'd be doing zone 2 power, and then obviously you'd have that drift, and then I'm like zone 3 power or heart rate while I'm doing zone 2 power. Now it's like I'm doing almost zone 3 power and I'm still in my zone 2 range. Like, I'm doing these rides where I'm doing like 125 beats per minute for 2 hours. And then we increase the power by 10 to 15 watts. And then I'm averaging like 130, 133 for an hour 45 after that. And then the last segment we increase it, I'm averaging like 145. But the overall ride, I'm still averaging like 130. It's ridiculous. For me, that's low, especially considering my threshold heart rate's about 173. So where was I? The volume that I'm doing this year is definitely a step up, but because we're keeping it so controlled, it's really allowing me to do more hours. You know, and I think that's the thing, is like, when you do zone 2 right, you're not noodling. You know what I mean? I'm in zone 2 right now, and you gotta see, like, every couple of words, I'm taking a break in my speech because that is zone 2. But we are doing like 4.5 hour day, next day, 4.5 hour day, next day, 5 hour day, then a 1 hour recovery span, and then we go, you know, 4:45, 5 hours, Saturday, Sunday, doing big hour weeks. Flow. Hey, so my camera died on my ride. Sad day. But where was I? Oh yes. Sorry, it's now a different day. But I want to keep talking and walking through just what's been going on so far. So the one thing I've been really working on too on my rides, and this has helped with not only energy balance, but it's also helped with getting my body to understand how to use fat as fuel more in the endurance zone versus using carbs. That way I can save the carbs and glycogen for harder efforts like tempo, threshold, VO2, anaerobic, explosive sprint stuff. So one thing I've been doing, and my coach has told me to do, and I honestly, this has worked out perfectly, is fuel 45 grams of carbs per hour while doing endurance work. Obviously, when we start doing intervals, like if we're doing tempo work or some threshold work, we bump that up to 60 grams an hour. When I race, I do more like 90 to 100 grams an hour, because you always want to make sure that you're trying to like top off those glycogen fuels, so you always have energy ready to go. But in the base season, in this off season, well, it's really not off season anymore. It's kind of over. Now we're like in building phase 4 season, which is right around the corner, like 3 months to racing, crazy. But I've been doing a lot of just 45 grams of carbs an hour. Like that's it. That's what we've been doing. And if some people might be like, oh my gosh, that's like a little restrictive, isn't it? But if there's actually a cool app out there called Eat My Ride, if you were to like download that and use that, it would also recommend like 45 grams an hour on endurance days. Now the app's super buggy right now. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does kind of help to like line up what you've been doing. But that's something I've been doing, and man, my efficiency on the bike has been going up. I think when I started the off season, I want to say my efficiency was around like 1.3, 1.4. Now I got up as high as 1.75. The other thing that's been crazy is my power to heart rate is increasing. Like I'm starting to put out more watts at zone 2, and my heart rate is slowly starting to creep down. I know I've talked about this already earlier on the ride. But for example, like I can chart it on a chart, and for the ride I did yesterday, if I was to average a 150 heart rate for the entire ride, technically the average power I would have probably been able to produce would have been close to like 280. Crazy. So for me, something that's really been improving is my power to heart rate ratio. Like I'm spending more time in zone 2 heart rate. Again, I already talked about that. But I mean, this is just all kinds of things I've been doing off the bike. Some other things that have been happening is lots of stretching, like tons of stretching. The one thing I've noticed is foam rolling has been a game changer for just the legs starting to feel good day after day and starting to really get into a rhythm. That is something that's crazy. When I don't foam roll, I notice sometimes my knees get a little bit tight. The IT man starts pulling and pushing on things. But when I foam roll, makes a huge difference. See what else is there. Calories. I'm tracking calories. Been really good about that energy balance. I mean, I'm eating like 4,500 calories a day. It's a lot. dude, sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to eat anymore. But with that, I'm continuing to slowly trend down and lose weight because we are starting to balance energy, burn more fat on my endurance rides. Like everything is just in sync right now and starting to trend in the right direction. And the biggest thing I think is realizing that this is now a solid training rhythm that I'm in. My coach Tim Cusick talks about training rhythm all the time. He talks about how when you train, it's like a top and it takes a little bit. Well, once you get the top spinning, you want to try to stay in that mode as much as you can, as long as you can, until that top stops to kind of stop spinning, and then you start to take rest. And that's what these like 3-week blocks are. Is when I start into a block, it's a little bit rough, but then that top starts spinning, and then it's spinning and it's spinning, and every day I feel amazing. We might increase power a little bit, different things, and then towards the end of that block, it starts to kind of wobble, and that's when we know, like, hey, let's push just a little bit and try to get it just to wobble a little bit more, and then we'll rest and allow that top to stop spinning. So I've been in a really good training rhythm this off season. Motivation is high, stoke is high. We got Tour of Roads in Greece in March. Been selected for that team. So that's going to be 3 weeks, 8 UCI days right off the bat. And dude, right now this is my off season. So yeah, keep trending along. Check out the rides on Strava. I mean, I post everything. I don't hide anything. I don't block power. I don't block heart rate. I think it's funny when people do that. Like, honestly, those are my numbers. Like, yes, there are some things that I do off the bike training wise, or I might even be doing on the bike that I don't really share, because there's a few things where I'm like, this is giving me an advantage over my competition. But outside of that, like, everything is pretty much an open book. There's really not a whole lot that I don't share. I mean, there's a lot of cadence work we're doing on the bike. You know, I'm not going to get into deep detail about what that cadence work is, but for me, it's been a game changer just doing that different stuff. The athletes I coach, they definitely are doing a lot of cadence work. I give them a ton of cadence work to do. That's the other thing. Like, I want to share things, but at the same time, there's things I want to hold close to the chest, because as a coach, I also want to turn around and use that for my athletes, because my athletes are not only paying for me to be their coach, but I mean, they're paying to be the best that they can be. So, you know, I want to give them some pointers that are good for them and not really open to the rest of everyone else. Sorry about that. I know, kind of weird, but whatever. And with that, if you are interested in coaching, man, hit me up. I know I'm super busy with training and all those things, but at the same time, that's why I haven't been posting a lot to YouTube, is because honestly, man, I am slammed with training and coaching. Like, when I'm not on the bike doing my stuff, I'm sitting down and I'm looking over athletes and I'm writing their plans and I'm giving them feedback and I'm going through their charts. And then I'm also meeting with my coach one-on-one every week, and we talk through stuff for like an hour, and then I go out and I do all the training. Like, it's busy, you know. Yesterday's training, even though it was like a 4-hour and 45-minute ride, it was literally like a 7-hour day of training, because I did that, got off the bike, ate, showered, did some core work, stretching, what else was there? Foam rolling, and then I ate more food. But by the time I finished the foam rolling, like, between riding, core work, and foam rolling and stretching, like, that was a full blown 7-hour day. Like, that's my training. And then on top of that, you know, I had some meetings with the athletes. So I took a phone call here or there, sat down, looked through programs. So that's me. That's what we've been doing this off season. Man, I'm super excited. Team wise, super cool. We got kits are ordered. Bikes are getting ready to be ordered, and hopefully those are delivered in January, February. So much going on. Super excited. I'm going to try to get more. Man, it's been really hard, too, to film because the weather here is just cold and crappy. It just is. It's hard when you're wearing thick gloves when it's 38 degrees to, like, grab a camera and start talking into it. And so, yeah. Anyways, Hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, keep riding and training hard. Hit me up for any coaching inquiries, and see you guys on the next video.